Good evening once again and a very warm welcome to Rwanda Television News with me, Gloria Mutesi. By February next year, all Rwandans will belong to different Ubudehe categories, and the civil society has commended that the new categories will address past concerns raised by the general public, and it says it has played a far greater role in their establishment compared to the previous occasions. Sessionary kicks us off tonight with this story.
On many occasions, people have asked that their Ubudehe category be changed, in need of assistance yet unable to access services reserved for only the most vulnerable in society, which is why calls became very loud for the Ubudehe program not to be associated with such services. At the last National Mushyikirano Council, it was announced that the Ubudehe categories will no longer determine whether or not a student gets a government student loan or a place in school, rather their performance. With the revision of the Ubudehe categories, they will no longer determine whether or not a student gets a place in school. We agreed with all authorities that the merit of that will be determined by the performance of the child. However, that does not mean that those able to pay their children's school fees will not. Those who can will pay for their children. But for those unable to, the Ubudehe category they have been placed in will not be a determining factor. We will be looking at the marks the student got. In addition to such major changes, local residents say the criteria used to determine what category a person truly belongs to should be looked into and perfected, with due consideration made from case to case, because no two can be exactly alike. The new categories, 5 instead of 4 as was previously the case, are to begin being filled during this month of October, and the allocation process of the country's citizens will continue until February next year, denoted with the letters of the alphabet from A to E instead of numbers like it used to be. The first category will be comprised of those considered well off with salaries above 600,000 Rwandan francs. The changes will also examine exactly how much money assets generate for a person instead of looking at just the asset per se as it was done before, helping to minimize cases of people ending up in the wrong category. Those in the B category will not be considered vulnerable and in need of assistance either, while those in the C and D categories will be considered for government assistance to fight poverty, but be required to sign performance contracts that reflect their progress in fighting their way out of that poverty with the help of the government. Those in the E category will be people who will always need government assistance to survive and will not be required to sign performance contracts. People like the elderly with no relatives to care for them, those living with disabilities or serious chronic illnesses, and so on. The civil society has welcomed the changes. When the initiative to revise the categories of the Ubudehe program was first launched, we went down to the people and asked them what sort of changes they would like to see, and among the most prominent was that there be 5 categories, which has been implemented, and we're happy about that. Also, now the Ubudehe categories will no longer determine the sort of services a person can access. We also like the fact that the people's opinions have been given much emphasis with these new categories. Placing families in different categories will be done at the settlement level, with entire neighborhoods playing their part in the process, so that by February next year, all will know what Ubudehe category they belong to.
The Ministry of Environment says the problem of water torrents coming down from the volcanoes that has been devastating to the people is being addressed through a large-scale project to guide the water safely and to provide opportunities to repair the damage that has been caused. Some of the damage that has been caused by rainwater from volcanoes include people's crops, livestock, and different infrastructure, as well as causing loss of lives. This has been a challenge for years, as some of the locals recently told RBA. Even recently, there's a lady with her child that wanted to cross over, and she slid in the trees, fell, and died. Our gardens get spoiled, and even when we keep our livestock somewhere, when it rains, they drown. In May last year, when President Paul Kagame visited Burera and Musanze districts in the northern province, he addressed this issue.
Water coming down and damaging things, that is also a problem that I have been informed about and that has existed for some time now. And I believe we have not put enough effort in addressing this. And it includes a certain degree of negligence and limited resources. Regardless, we should have made some sort of headway on that matter by now. I am therefore going to deal with it. That water can be channeled in other ways or even used productively instead of it just destroying what people build.
When the Minister of Environment, Dr. Mujawamariya Jeanne d'Arc, was summoned in Parliament, she said the issue was being addressed in a sustainable way.
In
Musanze district, the project has reached 80% of its first phase, with 3 water channel systems being built. There is the Muhe water channel meant to hold the water and reduce the pressure of the water, and planting trees that hold the soil on the banks of the water channel systems. In Burera district, the project is at a completion rate of 85%. 3 water channel systems are being built at Muhabura, Nyarubanza and Mbandana, and we're expanding the water pipes, whereas the bridges crossing through are done. Currently, large dams are being constructed for where the water flows from so that the water doesn't flow into people's gardens. There is also construction of large stone walls and large ponds that capture the water in order to slow it down, as well as planting trees on the banks of the water channel systems. The entire project, which was estimated to cost 34 billion Rwanda francs, includes water management, redirecting it, landscaping, and relocation of some residents. The first phase of the project is expected to be completed in about 3 and 4 years. Local residents in Nyanza district of the southern province are praising the impact health posts have had on their communities, saying people no longer become bedridden at home and most expectant mothers now deliver their babies with qualified medical staff helping them. The initiative to establish the health post was first proposed in 2017, and this year they began to open in cells that do not already have health centers. As a result, malaria fatalities in communities have reduced from 42 to just 1 per year, with women giving birth at home reducing from 576 to 172. Family planning figures have also increased from 47.5% to 60%, and Mutuelle de Santé coverage has increased from 76 to 90% in the district. Now local residents are calling for the health posts to be better equipped and provided with more personnel working in them. 32 of the 51 cells in Nyanza now have their own health posts, with the rest having bigger health centers, and only those newly established health posts yet to be equipped. With Kigali city's population increasing and burial grounds running out, human behavior experts say Rwandans are bound to adopt the cremation option eventually, though it has been resisted so far. Calls are already being made for authorities to find a way to make the land of the Remera cemetery useful again, just 10 years after burial grounds were declared full. The Rusororo cemetery that replaced it has since been expanding rapidly, drawing complaints from local residents that it is encroaching on residential and other types of areas. More than 7,000 people have been buried at Rusororo since the cemetery was opened in 2011, and the cemetery's managers have asked that its 9 hectares be used wisely, which is not always easy when people demand sizable plots for their deceased loved ones. A law on cremation has existed for the last 7 years but not used, and so legal experts say sensitization efforts on the benefits of cremation should be employed among the public so that people embrace the practice. Kigali city authorities say that even though the city's population has been increasing significantly, the recently revised master plan also caters for burial grounds. Now, some people in Kigali have continued using charcoal and firewood, saying they cannot afford to buy gas. Gas prices had remained unregulated until now, but the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority says a feasibility study is being carried out to establish a best price for the commodity. Sessionore has more.
For those that use gas for cooking, the benefits are far too powerful to ignore. I no longer have to go and eat in restaurants because I can easily cook when I get home in the evening. At lunchtime, I go home and warm something to eat without problems. It has really saved me a lot of time. There are two benefits. The first is the speed at which you can prepare food, and the second has to do with protecting the environment because as a patriotic citizen, it is my duty. Those are the two important and basic reasons I can give you: the speed it provides and protecting the environment. True as this may be, the cost of using gas for cooking is something many say they cannot afford. Because prices have remained unregulated, they vary widely depending on where you go to buy the gas, and during the total lockdown, it spiked extensively, between 1,000 and 1,400 Rwandan francs per kilo, resulting in the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority imposing a ceiling of 1,083 Rwandan francs to bring things under control. Now a study is to be carried out to establish whether or not an official base price is required. Establishing a price requires a methodology and study because you could put one in place, resulting in the product becoming very expensive. That is why I say the study is necessary so that we can see the reasons for and against a set price. As for those that try to spike prices, we have ways of enforcing against it, such as the price ceiling we recently imposed, and anyone going above it is punished. Rura says at least 2% of the country's population uses gas for cooking, and the objective is to raise that figure to 40% by 2024.
Now, to bring you up to speed with the latest figures from the Ministry of Health, Rwanda today recorded 4 new people that tested positive for the coronavirus among the 2,239 tests that were conducted today. 14 new people have recovered in the last 24 hours, and active cases are currently 1,259. Unfortunately, one more person has succumbed from coronavirus, bringing the total number of deaths to 31. Among the cases that were identified today, 1 is from Kigali, 2 from Chirehe district, and 1 from Musanze district. Now, condolences to the family of the 41-year-old man who passed away in Kigali. May his soul rest in peace. Well, that's it for tonight's bulletin. A reminder of our top stories. The civil society has commended that the new Ubudehe categories starting in February next year will address past concerns raised by the general public. The Ministry of Environment says the problem of water torrents coming down from the volcanoes is being addressed through a large-scale project. And on the international scene, 20 years after Zimbabwe's controversial land reform policy, when thousands of white farmers were forcibly evicted, some are returning to the land as tenants of black owners. Well, we're so glad you could stay with us throughout the bulletin. Continue to stay safe, and remember, no one is safe until we all are. Otherwise, have a good night and a bright new week ahead. God bless you and keep you. Until next time, I'm Gloria Mutesi.